Hi guys, my name is Roger, and ever since I was a teenager, I've always wanted to build my own car. I started this channel to see if an average person, like me, can design and build their own mid-engine car. If you like what you see here in my videos, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you know someone who you think might be interested in my videos, please share the videos with them. I'll be adding a new video every week, and with that out of the way, let's get started with this week's video.
This week's video, we're going to continue where we left off last week. Last week we joined the rear lower frame section to the center cabin area frame section, and there's a couple of wales that we couldn't quite get to with it sitting up on the table, so I'm pulling it off the table here so I can reach those final few wales and do a good job on them. I've decided to take my channel a little different route moving forward, since each video that I'm posting ends up being about 30 minutes long, and most viewers probably don't want to watch that entire video. I'm going to post 2 videos per week. One is going to be a full-length video for the people that like to suffer through the 30 minutes of the building, and the other is going to be a short snippets video or an outtakes video reduced down to just what we've accomplished for that week. Hopefully that video will be 3 to 6 minutes long. You'll notice I keep moving the frame around, flipping it over and turning it around so I can get to these final wales easier. Here I am repositioning the frame one last time so I can get to a couple of wales on the bottom and finish up the welding on this large component. Wanted to take a minute and show you where I'm at. Just finished a kind of a critical procedure, joining the lower rear frame part to the cabin area mid-frame. It's completely welded in. Both sides have these corner gussets for stability. Capped off both rear tubes so there's no openings, and welded in both of these gussets here for strength, and welded in these 4 tubes here. This is where the fuel tank will sit, on those tubes there. And once I finished all the welding, strapped it back down to the table using the center line, the chalked center line on the table to make sure everything's square and level before I start adding the next step, which will be welding in the 2 upper tubes that connect to this post. For the upper suspension, they're actually a little longer than these lower tubes. And I've got to make a fixture to hold everything into position while I start tack welding those on. And there'll be a couple of vertical tubes running between those 4 tubes. And once all of that is in, the rear of the car will be finished frame-wise. There's still a lot of steel components have to be fabricated and bolted on to the frame to attach the suspension. I'm going to make all those attach points out of steel instead of aluminum, just for strength. But that is where we are at. We had a pretty productive day today. Here you'll see me, I am marking, and I will be cutting these 2 wood pieces for fixtures to hold the upper tubes, the upper rear tubes into position. These will be notched to fit in snug in between the lower tubes. They will be screwed into the table to hold them in position, and then the top 2 tubes will be clamped to this fixture and have a ratchet strap pulling them together, so everything is held in perfect position during the tack welding and final welding process. You saw me pull the table saw out in the middle of the floor. I'm getting ready to start cutting these wooden fixtures and cutting them down to size till I get a good snug permanent fit. You'll see me test fitting these wooden fixtures here. First I cut them just a little oversized, and I'll slowly come back and cut and sneak in on these cuts until I get an exact fit. I wanted to stop here and show you guys what I'm doing to fixture these last two tubes on the rear end. You can see I've got two wooden templates, fixtures, whatever you want to call them. And they are notched to fit the tubes exactly. They are screwed down to the table. They fit just between the tubes and sit on top of the lower tubes. And then for the upper part, you can see they're clamped down to the surface controlling the height, and they are strapped left and right to these surfaces controlling the width. That locates them exactly where they should be on these vertical tubes for welding. I laid a level across the back end just to check everything is square, and it looks good. So I think I am ready to start welding. Here you'll see me starting to tack weld these upper rear suspension tubes into position and checking to make sure that nothing is moving and everything is in the correct position, and then I will put the final welds on the tubes. And again, it is important when you're welding to be able to see and to reach your weld easily. So to finish the welding on these tubes on the insides, I had to climb up on the table and weld, trying to balance myself and using one knee on the pedal for the TIG welder to control it. This wasn't easy, but I couldn't figure out a better way to do this welding. Here you'll see me starting to cut some of the vertical tubes that are spacers in between the upper and lower rear frame tubes. Wanted to take a minute to show you something I tried that didn't work out as well as I had hoped. I'm making the tubes that span between the lower and the upper rear frame sections. This is one here that I've tacked up, or actually welded up, to try to fit. There's 4 of these that go in here. Maybe at a better angle like this. And they don't quite fit as well as I had hoped. They're angled out a little here at the top, and they fit not so great here. And the way that I made these was I made a little weld fixture here to hold the parts in place. Got 2 pieces of tube here simulating those frame tubes. Cut all the pieces, drop them down in the weld fixture that holds them in place. I tack welded them in the fixture and then pulled them out and completely welded them up solid. I'm just not happy with them, so I'm going to try something different. I'll show you guys what that different route is when I get something accomplished on it. I haven't quite started on that yet. But since I'm documenting the entire build process, wanted to show you the things that I try that don't work out so well, the failures, if you would call them that, as well as the things that do work, just for document purposes. I want to thank you guys for tuning in this week to see what I've accomplished. I know this was another long video, but I hope you stuck with it till the end, and I'll see you again next week.